let's talk about Bleach. Cue that intro. Alright, now that lengthy introduction's out of the way, now let's get into the review. Anyways guys, it's your boy Shimigami X, aka your Captain X, here today to give you my weekly review of Bleach. Today what I'm going to be talking to you about is Bleach chapter 586, entitled The Headless Star, part 5. Alright, now, I would like to say from the get-go that this chapter was probably just as good as last week's chapter, for the simple sense that we're getting some story progression at a decent pace. Because we all know that as for the last 10-15 chapters of Bleach, chapters have been very short in terms of their pacing and how far the story has progressed. Fair enough, you can say we're in a war and there's only so much you can do as in battles and whatnot, but this week's chapter picked up the pace a little bit, as did last week's chapter, so that's what was one of the good things about it. Now, what makes this chapter an interesting read compared to previous chapters is the fact that, okay, now that we have more characters in the mix, such as Byakuya and the crew, and then the very end of the chapter we see that Chad and Orihime join the fray. But my question is this: although they've been training and whatnot, besides Orihime, because she has healing powers and whatnot, what can Chad really do? Unless he can turn full hollow form, I don't really see him being of much help, especially against these Star Knights, which are quite evidently, some of them are able to nerf and punch up captains. So do you really think that Chad is at of that power level? What the hell was that? I don't think so. But anyways, that's just my personal opinion. I don't believe that he is. But if he is, then so be it. I'll just have to roll with it, because I'm not the one who writes the series. I just review the stuff. Now, we see Chad and Orihime. Where's Grimmjow? Where's the Fullbringers and the rest of the crew? We don't know. Maybe they'll make an appearance later on, which is what makes me believe that this battle is far from over. We got a long way to go before Bleach is over, because even what Juha says at the end of this chapter is that, okay, have you said your goodbyes? And he's like, yeah. It's like, are you sure? Because you do know that this will be forever. Okay, so when he says that you do know that this will be forever, what I'm assuming is going to happen, well, what I'm assuming Juha is planning, I should say, would be to go up to the Soul Palace, obviously take out the Royal Guard, and obviously take out the Soul King, and become the new king. And obviously becoming the new king would obviously mean an eternity. And obviously Juha means that, you say goodbyes because you'll be spending an eternity at my side. Or when you take over as my successor, which he said before, it's going to be an eternity. There's no going back from here. And obviously he says he agrees because he wants to show that his loyalty to Juha. But you know what? I still got the feeling that Uryu is going to play the double agent, just by his facial expressions, the way he approached Ichigo. He approached Ichigo and then his before Hashworld, which obviously kind of surprised Hashworld, because Hashworld thought he'd more sit on the fence about it. But what was interesting about what Uryu done was his facial expressions, the way he approached Ichigo. He shot his light ray gun not to kill Ichigo, but basically to stop him, as in don't come any further. There's nothing you can do. Stay away from me. So yeah, basically showing that to Ichigo that I'm betraying you, I'm on their side. So confirming his loyalty to Juha, in Juha and Hashworld's eyes, and the rest of the Star Knights, and as well as basically protecting Ichigo at the same time. Because I've said this from the get-go, and I've said this from previous chapters, I don't believe that Ichigo right now has the power to be able to take out Juha, especially with Hashworld there. He's not going to sit by and let it happen. So I don't think Ichigo would have been able to win that battle. I think he would have been basically rushing towards his death. Obviously the main character wouldn't have died, because it's Bleach, shown in anime, main characters don't really die. I say really die, because they do in some cases, but whatever, that's not besides the point. Anyways, let's get back into the chapter. Overall, the chapter was a pretty decent chapter, as we see, where Bazby, wants basically to go rush on and take on Ichigo, and so do the rest of the other Star Knights. But obviously, Byakuya, Renji, and the crew are not going to let him. So it's going to be an interesting match, because we see all the Star Knights go into their Vol standing basically to get the battle over and done with very quickly. So obviously now we know that Byakuya, Rukia, Renji, they all have basically significantly increased Bankais. But although it's a case of 6 versus 8, I don't think that the scales are tipped in the favour of the Star Knights, because you need to remember, Renji, Rukia and Byakuya have all had training with the Zero Division and have had significant power increases, to the extent where Rukia was able to defeat Asnod, where Byakuya previously was almost killed by him. So you can see that basically the power increase that they've had from the training in the Royal Palace has boosted their Reiatsu in their power by leaps and bounds. And I believe that difference is enough to turn the scales in their favor. So basically my question is this war isn't seeming to be much of a war anymore, besides, you know, Juha when he eventually gets all his power back, and Hashworld, and obviously now Uryu, because Uryu's had a power increase. So other than that, oh yeah, and obviously ask him because you don't know what he's up to, but other than that, it doesn't seem like there is the threat of the Quincy doesn't seem to be all that significant, because you had Grammy, who was supposed to be quote unquote the strongest Star Knight, was killed by Kenpachi. Yeah, Kenpachi's out of commission right about now, but obviously Orihime's here, he's probably gonna heal him and heal anybody else, blah blah blah. Yes, the Shinigami side, the side on the Shinigami have lost a lot of, like, you know, valuable assets in this war, such as Genryusei Yamamoto, Kensei Rose are done for, who else? Yeah, and obviously Kenpachi is just like, you know, he's out cold for a little while, but he's still got other captains that can fight and stuff. And with the fact that Byakuya, Renji and Rukia are there, are quite right about now their strongest assets. So with that being said, and them all being well and dandy and whatnot, I don't really see these Star Knights giving the side of the Shinigami too much of a problem. Yeah, maybe it'll cause like a problem for the likes of Ikaku, Shuhei and Yumachika, but as for Renji, Rukia and Byakuya, I don't really see it being too much of a problem. And that's just my personal opinion. You feel free to disagree with me, like that's your opinion at the end of the day. I'm just reviewing the chapter. Anyways, this chapter was generally a good read, and other than that, not much more happened. It's basically left it at a cliffhanger. You have to see what happens next time. And obviously next time what I think is going to happen is going to be like a very, very brief conversation between, you know, like Uryu and the rest of like Ichigo and Chad and Orihime. When I say brief, I mean very brief. Brief to the point that the conversation might not even happen at all. You might even just see them ascend with the light pillar back up into the Soul Palace, but obviously Ichigo, being this rash shelf, is probably going to try and rush up there, and then somebody is going to stop him, because obviously there's a war going on down here that he obviously needs to attend to, which is why the Zero Division set him down in the first place. As for Juha being to take out the Zero Division, at the moment, I wouldn't say the Zero Division should be too worried. I think they should be slightly bit more worried, just simply for the fact that Hashworld is there and Uryu is there at the same time. But generally, if it was just Juha himself, I don't think they should be too worried. Not saying that Juha isn't hella strong. Of course he's hella strong. He has Yamamoto's Bankai. But you guys need to remember that several chapters ago, when the Zero Division was first introduced, it was also stated that their combined strength way surpasses that of the Gote 13. So that obviously includes Genryusei Yamamoto. So they took him into account. Obviously, it also took into account of the full power of like people such as you know, Shunsui and Kyoraku. So with all that, and Unohana as well, knowing what her true nature was. So with that being said, you already have 5 Shinigami who are basically dwarf Genryusei Yamamoto. So although Juha has Genryusei Yamamoto's Bankai plus X, Y, and Z additional powers, we don't know what the powers are of the Zero Division, so I don't think there should be anything to worry about. I do think that'll make for a very good match, and I do think for the sake of the story that Juha will end up defeating them, because obviously Ichigo's meant to be essentially the knight in shining armor. Anyways guys, that covers it for my chapter review of Bleach this week. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a review out for next week, but just going to have to see how that goes. But anyways, I'll always let you guys know on my Facebook fan page and Twitter fan page, which links are always in the description box below. Anyways guys, it's your boy Shinigami X, aka Captain X. I hope you've enjoyed my review. I'm signing out, and as always my people, take care and peace. And remember, as I always say, keep it 99 plus 1. You do the math, man.